Australia has just passed a landmark bill banning minors from using social media. Anybody under the age of 16 is no longer allowed to use social media under this new legislation. And I don't know how you feel about it, but from my point of view, social media is fraught with harms for young people, and there's a lot of stuff that they could and do see on there that they're probably better off not seeing. But I'm not the sensorial type either, because I was very curious when I was under 16. My entire childhood I spent reading books and wanting to learn and explore. But then, is social media the place for that? Because increasingly it's become nothing more than a battleground. And so perhaps children are best protected from that. And there's something to be said for China's approach to minors and social media, because over there, they're not banned outright from using social media, but the government has determined what sites children can and cannot use. The ones that they do advocate are mostly educational, and they promote healthy ideals for young people to aspire to, which I know it's all very communist, but it's also quite noble, I think, and it makes for, and I think that is kind of our role as adults when we're raising kids, to teach them decent values. So I do see the positivity in that versus what's happening in the West, where kids are getting radicalized with all kinds of crazy ideology that they really shouldn't be, things that they shouldn't even be thinking about at their age. But part of me is also very cynical about this whole initiative, because the bill was passed very rapidly with very little consultation. And let's face it, kids today, they know how to get around these things. They know about VPNs. For example, in China, everybody uses a VPN. Yeah, there are all these sites that the government forbids people from using, but most people just use them anyway through VPNs. So who are they really kidding? It begs the question, does the government of Australia really care about children's safety? Is this why they're doing it? Or is there another motive? Because how are they going to enforce this? Well, obviously, through ID. This new legislation will require all social media users in Australia to prove their age with identification. So, is that what it's about? Because let's think about it. Every time government has tried to impose digital ID, the public has rejected it. And they've always done this under the guise of safety, of keeping the population safe. They tried with the pandemic to keep us safe from a virus. And you could argue that that's what they're currently doing in the US with the border crisis, because in order to tighten security at the border, they're going to need biometric ID, digital ID. So I feel anytime we hear the government using safety as a justification for some new initiative, we've got to be a little bit skeptical. How much do they really care about our safety? It's very busy on this street today. We're on Regent Street, and it's the run up to Christmas, so we are in retail mayhem right now. And I'm just approaching Great Marlborough Street, where the world famous Liberty department store is situated. Here it is. And on the subject of keeping us safe, there was an incredible story I heard on the UK news this week, that a 12-year-old boy posted on social media that he believed that there were only two genders. And because his school saw this, they put him on a terrorism watch list, and the counter-terrorism police turned up on his doorstep to interrogate him. A 12-year-old boy who said that there were two genders. It was considered that his opinion that there are only two genders could be the first step towards radicalism. And they had to interrogate his beliefs to check that he wasn't a potential terrorist.
I gotta be here. Christmas, around Christmas.
A 12-year-old boy who believes that boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. As we saw in Kindergarten Cop. Remember that famous scene in Kindergarten Cop starring Arnold Schwarzenegger? What's the world coming to? But hey, aren't you so glad that they're keeping us safe? With all the crime on the streets, they're doing such a good job of protecting us from 12-year-old boys who believe in the 300,000-year-old concept of men and women. I feel so safe now. Thank you, police. But getting back to the Australian social media safety bill for minors, yeah, I do see some potential value in that. If they really were genuinely concerned about keeping minors safe from the dangers of social media. I don't know if they share my views on what constitutes dangers for minors, because personally, I think a lot of what I consider dangerous to minors that I'm seeing on social media is stuff that the government is actually pushing. You know, those adults who are on social media telling children that if they behave in a certain way, that there is something wrong with them, that they're trapped in the wrong body and need medicalizing. You know, those are the dangers that I think that they should be kept away from. But I'm a little suspicious that that's not what they're protecting these kids from. But what it really is a backdoor to bringing in digital ID for all people, minors and adults alike. What do you think? Is this really what it appears on the surface? Or do they have a deeper agenda? And is this something that we could expect all around the world? Is this going to be coming our way soon? Please leave me your thoughts in the comments and give this video a like. And do subscribe if you've not already done so to keep up with my daily musings on the news of the day that they're not talking about on mainstream media.